Good morning, and welcome to Citizens Reunited to Overcome Cancer. We know it as the CROC Podcast. The CROC Nation for many years have been writing to us about bloopers. On occasion, we tried to do our very best to keep everything in. But before we recorded this episode, we had to stop, mainly because one of us had multiple text messages coming in to the point where we just lost track and lost focus. So before we begin today's episode, I thought it'd be kind of fun to peek behind the curtain. I thought it'd be fun to take a peek behind the curtain and allow you to see what transpired right before we went on the air. This is the CROC Podcast, and it starts with a blooper.
Come on, let's go. Give me
This is a restart because we couldn't record it, but it was really, really special. Just trust us when we tell us that it was a special moment. Key factor, anybody that knows us, since we're doing a blooper real quick, don't text us while we're recording. That's all we got to say. In 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the CROC Podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here is your host, Dr. E.
Howdy, CROC Nation. Dr. Tommy Eanelli here with you with another amazing CROC podcast. Along with me, as always, is my partner in crime, Mr. Angel Santana. Have faith, let it begin. But what our CROC Nation does not know is that we have a secondary guest, a second host, Mr. Nick Lanza from our CROC board. Angel, your thoughts on having Nick join us today as the tripod of power?
I love it because I get the honor of working with this gentleman every single day. And I think what's really cool about it is that we have an opportunity to come together. And I think that this is another way of saying when you have good friendships and you have three people come together, there's nothing better than a tripod. And I know that a tripod can be looked at as something that's, a symbolization. And I think that we have a very strong unit today and this week.
Well, the beauty is, the three of us are connected on so many different levels. Number one is we're all very dear friends. Number two is that we both, three of us, actually you two, really are grooming me and really teaching me, how to live a faithful life and how to be a good Christian and to live, to talk the talk and walk the walk. And I admire you both for that. Angel, of course, your entire life, you're going to be a pastor. Your podcast is a spiritual podcast. And Nick, to the core, I don't think I've ever met anyone as spiritual as you naturally, and you're a great model for me. So there's that. And then Angel, I know you know this, but I'm going to tell the CROC Nation. So Nick and Angel met at work, but I actually have a previous life that I know Nick. So as a junior physician for a medical group, for a radiation oncology group that had their own practice management arm to their practice. Nick was the COO of that, and I got to know him, and it was really quite nice as a younger physician to befriend Nick, because as the lowest man on the totem pole, he and I were able to sort of speak on very common terms. So it wasn't like the two bosses who were a bit more experienced, both in medicine as well as in business. They were had more of a, working relationship with Nick, where I developed a very nice friendship. And one of the things that is going to come out as I guess a theme with Nick is that I always admired his sense of right and wrong. And not to say that my old partners did anything wrong, but I will say that if there was even a hint or a molecule of smell of something that was dishonest or something that was a bit off board, Nick would absolutely, would dig in his heels, and he would not let that happen. And it just speaks to his character. After he left that position, he and I went our separate ways, and he actually became, I believe, the chief financial officer at one of our sister hospitals. And he did that forever and ever and ever, and made great impact, especially when it comes to, in our area, to the health disparities. We don't live in the city where there's all the visible crime and all the visible poverty, but we have rural poverty and we have rural issues and lack of resources and lack of medical care and lack of ability to access good medical care. And Nick spent his career, in this area, in the Hudson Valley, the Upper Hudson Valley, in the Catskill Basin, really, trying to serve these very worthy patients, not just cancer survivors, but everybody, anybody from the pediatric age to the geriatric age. And that was his anthem. That's what he did. And then lo and behold, as Angel always says, there's no such thing as coincidences. Nick dropped into both of our lives as sort of his side hustle, I guess, semi-retirement or pre-retirement job, working in the switchboard with Angel. And it's always my favorite day of the week. It's always my favorite day when I hear Angel. It's my favorite day when I hear Nick, but it's my triple favorite day when I hear Nick and Angel alternating, calling the code grays, for all the fighting and all the rambunctiousness happening in our hospital. So of course, after I get to know, know Nick, since it was a few decades between our lives together, he started taking an interest in Angel's podcast and started taking an interest in Angel and my podcast. And we quickly saw how talented he was, how intelligent he was, how kind he was. And we asked him to join our board. And that was one of the greatest gifts to our CROC Nation, to our Survivor Thrivers, was to have Nick join our board. And I'll tell you why. He is a kind and gentle person, unless he has something to say that needs to be said in trying to make Citizens Reunited to Overcome Cancer a better organization and a better podcast. If I do a bad podcast, I shudder when that text message comes through and I see it's Nick's name, and I never know whether he's going to like it or dislike it. So it's almost like Alexa Gente. I'm waiting, with bated breath to see whether he likes the podcast or not. But that's kind of a funny side note. What I really wanted to say was, maybe about a month ago or so, he had this concern that probably was, and I'll ask him actually if this was a remnant concern from when he was a CFO up in Sullivan County, New York, where he saw all the patients that didn't have access or didn't have money or didn't have resources. And he was concerned for our survivors, for our cancer survivors. What do we do, Tom, when these patients don't have access to care, where they don't have money to pay for these resources? And of course, without being asked, he did research, he did his due diligence, and he did a bunch of, work, and he put together a beautiful list of resources that he's going to share with you all tonight. And without further ado, please let us jointly introduce Nick Lanza.
Thank you, Dr. E. I appreciate that introduction. I don't know if I deserve all those accolades that you've said, but very much appreciated. Yeah, to answer your question, it definitely emanated from my career as a CFO, which was kind of unlike my colleague CFOs, who are strictly kind of interested more about the economic effect and the financial effect of what they're doing. But I've always had an affinity for the downstream effect on the patients. So yeah, it kind of more or less emanated from there. But I also had, from a personal standpoint, that I had my mom go through breast cancer, and which she eventually succumbed to. So, I've been kind of interested in that area from there. The therapeutic regimen that these patients go through, I would imagine it's got to be tremendously hard on them. And so as far as going through the physical stress of all the therapeutics that they have to go to address their issue, I would imagine that as as much stress that can be relieved from their body would help them achieve the goal that they're trying to get to. And I would imagine again that being as costly as a cancer treatment is, that must be a stressor on their bodies as well. And I've always kind of been interested in the mind-body connection of how that works. And just for for the CROC Nation, let me just define that. The mind-body connection refers to the intricate relationship between our thoughts, emotions, and physical health, where mental stress can influence physical well-being and vice versa. So, and I think an example of that is you've had some 2 or 3 testimonials on the CROC podcast from individuals who have gone through this, and how their mindset have helped them to get to the end goal of getting well. So I thought that, if we could go through and let those individuals know about some financial assistance that's available to them. And perhaps if even one person can use any of this information to put their mind kind of at ease from that stressor on their life and concentrate on the therapeutics and getting themselves well, I think we've done a good thing here. So I'm going to go through the list. It's a really a plethora of information and help that's out there. The first one being the Allison Whitney Foundation. This organization provides grants to young adults, and it's ages 16 to 36 with rare cancers to help them with medical bills, rent, utilities, car and health insurance premiums, and other expenses. They seem to be a very they've been around for a while, and there's money to be had there.
Nick, not to interrupt you, Angel, we will make sure that we put all of these resources on the website as well as on the podcast.
Right. As they're listening to this episode right now, they can actually click on the links below and they're already there.
Great. Another organization is the Cancer Financial Assistance Coalition. So this organization is basically a group of organizations that provides help to cancer patients with financial support. We have the Cancer Care organization, which offers 3 services: a financial assistance program for cancer-related costs, such as transportation and childcare, and other oncology and available oncology social workers would help them find resources. They also have a co-payment assistance foundation, which helps people with cancer to overcome financial access and treatment barriers by assisting them with co-payments. And finally, there's a Helping Hand online financial resource database, which finds additional local and national resources to help with financial and practical needs in searchable databases. Next door,
Nick,
yeah.
Actually, Nick, let me ask you a quick question, if
Yeah.
you don't mind me interjecting.
Sure.
Can you tell our CROC Survivor Thrivers, just give them a couple of tips as far as, of course, they're going to hit the links that you mentioned, but how did you do your research? And if you can give them a few tips on, going to a Google engine or, a Chrome or whatever, give them a step-by-step guide on how to do that.
Yeah, it was basically a Google search, and all I put in was financial assistance for cancer patients, and all these organizations popped up. It was very simple. There's a lot of information out there. The next area was the called Family Reach, which provides financial assistance to families with children or young adults impacted by cancers. So they're not only helping out because of the individual who has the cancer, but for those who rely on the cancer patient as well for help. The Health Well Foundation provides financial assistance to help with prescriptions, prescription copays, health insurance premiums, deductibles, and co-insurance, and also travel costs as well. There is a medicine assistance tool, and these are the actual like websites. So if you go into if you put in Google medicine assistance tool, it'll come right to that site.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah. Is a search engine that helps people learn more about the resources available through the various biopharma company programs. So they're going to put you in touch with the pharmacy organizations, maybe perhaps to get help with the pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, and I think further to that point, in regard to medications, we have to, probably couldn't even fathom how much money it costs for a new drug or a drug that just came out before it becomes generic. It must be incredibly prohibitive many, many times. And to assist Nick a little bit, when you reach out to the drug companies, they also have their own programs within their institutions to try to either, deflect some of the costs of your medication or outright, get them to the needy.
Yeah, exactly. There's an organization called Patient Access Network. And if you're Googling that one, just put in PAN, Patient Access Network, PAN Foundation, that helps underinsured people with life-threatening chronic and rare diseases get needed medications and treatment. The Patient Advocate Foundation provides case managers who help identify financial assistance programs and resources to those facing challenges. Simple Fill provides description advocate programs for over 1,500 drugs. And finally, as a kind of a generic resource, the Assistance Fund helps patients and families facing high medical costs by providing assistance for copays, co-insurance, deductibles, and other health-related expenses. So if you see some of the same themes are coming up, copays, deductibles, things of that nature.
And I would think, Nick, also there's a lot of local, charitable organizations that wouldn't even be national. So for example, just on our board of directors, Sarah and Jane start after we sort of parted ways with the Celebrate Life Half Marathon and that philanthropic endeavor. Jane and Sarah decided they wanted to continue that work, and God bless our two board members that have devoted themselves to this secondary not-for-profit organization. So there are patients that we see on a day-to-day basis in the Hudson Valley that have no resources, that Jane and Sarah spearhead, applications and grant processes for these patients. And I bet you, knowing, the way people are, there's probably hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of these small splinter organizations that you probably wouldn't even find on the internet search.
Exactly. And then Dr. Reed, there's a group of very specific resources that are available to particular cancers. So for breast cancer, there are about 4 or 5 organizations that key on breast cancer. One is the Genevieve's Helping Hands, which offers small financial grants to be used by young breast cancer patients that's under 40 to extend their recuperation period after cancer-related surgeries and treatment. The Gift of Hope Breast Cancer Foundation is dedicated to providing financial support to women in need during their course of treatment. This is an organization that people may have heard of already. Komen Financial Assistance Program.
Yeah, Komen is big. Komen,
Yeah.
yeah.
It provides.
I think it's Susan Komen.
Susan Komen, exactly. Provides funding for eligible individuals diagnosed with breast cancer. The Pink Fund provides 90-day non-medical cost of living expenses to breast cancer patients in active treatment. And then there's the Sisters Network Breast Cancer Assistance Program, which aims to assist breast cancer survivors facing financial challenges while undergoing surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy. So those 5 organizations geared towards breast cancer. For colon cancer, you have the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, which is a financial assistance of a one-time $200 award to provide help with household bills, childcare, transportation costs, or food. And Meredith Miracles offers financial assistance to cover daily living expenses for young adults who are currently fighting colon cancer. A couple of organizations for ovarian cancer. National Ovarian Cancer Coalition Foundation provides financial assistance for non-medical expenses. And Overcare offers a financial grants of $200, a $100 gas card, a $100 grocery card, optional counseling sessions via phone by a licensed clinical social worker. A couple of pancreatic cancer organizations. Hirschberg Foundation offers grants to people with pancreatic cancer for transportation and treatment costs, pain meds, home care, and child care. The National Pancreatic Cancer Foundation provides those diagnosed with financial assistance for living expenses, utilities, and other bills. And Project Purple is dedicated to providing financial aid for medical and everyday living expenses to patients in treatment for pancreatic cancer. Last but not least, prostate cancer. The Angel Foundation offers financial assistance that helps prostate cancer patients with non-medical expenses such as food, gas, utilities, rent, or mortgage payments. And Zero Cancer offers financial support like copay assistance and a comprehensive list of free prostate cancer test centers in the United States.
Wow. Beautifully submitted, Nick. And again, just to reiterate for all of our people in the CROC Nation, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Your own medical center, your own home cancer center might have in-house mechanisms to help you with your payments and your bills and your expenses. Your pharmaceutical companies, the ones that are providing your chemotherapy or your targeted therapy or your immunotherapy, or even some of the supportive medications, like the medications that keep you from getting nauseous. If you can't afford these resources, I bet you that there are ways that you can get these medications at reduced, if not significantly reduced prices. There are kind people out there all over that want to help you guys, and they have the money and it's there for the taking, as Nick says, but there's only can be given if you ask for it. So this podcast was such an interesting podcast because if you look at, some of the podcasts where there's some really visceral stories and really, moving stories of some acts of courage from our survivor thrivers, this was a different podcast. This is an informational podcast, but it's a very, very important podcast because even if you go to all of the resources that we're going to put on our website that Nick so nicely alluded to, we want to just get you thinking. I guess that's the goal, right, Nick, is to get you guys thinking that you're not alone,
Exactly.
that there are millions and millions of dollars out there specifically for our survivor thrivers, and we just have to find it. So I'm going to put a challenge out to the three of us. So not only are we going to air this podcast 2 times, toward the end of the month, but we're also going to put all of this information on the website as well as on the podcast blurb. Lastly, we are going to commit to you guys to feel free to contact us through the website, and Angel will give you that information. And we will personally evaluate your situation and see, even if some of these bigger organizations don't fit you, we will try to help you find a shop or a resource that might. Angel, I always give you the last word.
I think it's fascinating that, Citizens Reunited to Overcome Cancer, as we know it, the CROC Podcast, is able to shift gears to benefit others when they need information like this that even I didn't know existed to this extent. And I think that what this is a great example of something that I always say, that we have a gift, we have a talent, and when we provide these gifts to others, they do reap the reward. So I want to thank Nick for doing the research. I want to thank
Here,
Dr.
here.
E,
Thank you, Nick.
and also thank you, Dr. E, for just, taking a moment, and as you do best, to shift your gears a little bit. It's never been about us. It's always about the patient. And this is just another example of what we used to call a toolbox that these patients and families can utilize to better their needs. So thank you for that. It was very informative.
Yeah, and Nick, again, to your character, it surprises me not that you spent hours and hours doing this for our survivor thrivers. It does not surprise me one iota that you actually care and are so concerned about people who don't have resources, and that's what you do. And we are honored to have you called friend and also a colleague on the CROC Podcast board. So thank you, Nick. Do you have any last things to say or share before we close out with our CROC blessing?
No, I think, Tom, I appreciate again the opportunity to do this, and if we can just help one survivor on this, it's totally worth it.
I love it. Well, thank you for coming on board. And I just want to let you know that when you critique this podcast, if it goes over 30 minutes, that's on you, buddy.
You got it.
Okay, here's my pep talk. So listen, you guys are out there, and Nick said it so beautifully, and we just finished a 3-part podcast series on just that, side effects. You are overwhelmed with your diagnosis. You're overcome with fear about the potential for losing your life to this terrible, terrible disease. And then you go through the toxic therapies and your body is just screaming and you've had enough. And then all of a sudden you go to your mailbox and you see a bill for $10,000, for $20,000, for $40,000, even for $600, whatever it is, it's too much. And it's just too much for any person to endure, too much for any individual to try to burden that load, to handle that burden. And you need something. You need maybe just someone who you've never met before, maybe even a person or a bunch of people in a different state that just are out there saying, hey, Joe Smith, hey, Linda Smith, hey, Linda James, we're here for you. You don't have enough money to pay for gas to go to your treatments. Here's a gas card. You don't have money to pay for your electricity. Here's a $400 grant to get you through this month. You don't have enough food to feed your children. Here's a food card. It's out there for you guys. And we just want to let you know that it's there, and you could start doing the research with the information we've given you. And if you have further additional needs, please contact us. Because again, as Angel said, it's not about us. It's about you. It's the survivor thriver. So with that being said, we'll close out with our CROC blessing. And that's to wish each and every single survivor thriver out there nothing but the best, nothing but love and respect for your courage and your endurance. And we certainly wish you a long, healthy, happy, and cancer-free life. God bless you. God be with you. Peace.